It's not just folks on the inner city. If you think back, I'm 33, you're in your 40s. If we go to our parents or our grandparents, for the most part, their financial advice was save, right? Spend less than you make. If you save, then you can make your way to financial security. That was actually true, specifically around our grandparents' generation, a little bit for our parents, and then for us, not so much. And so the advice that was passed down was actually predicated on a situation that no longer exists. Because before 1971, there was nowhere near the debasement of the currency that there is today.
Because it was tied to gold?
That's a huge piece of it for sure, right? Which is basically the fact that when we handed over the power to print currencies, right? This is a 50-year experiment that we're in. And, again, there are some very positive impacts of being able to print currency, right? You essentially are able to devalue the currency. You can pay off future debt with kind of less valuable dollars. And there's all this economic theory that...
Really fast, I want to ground this in something I've heard you say before, which I think it was so simple. I was like, whoa. You said, if I have $100 in my bank account, and I need 150. I can't go in and edit the database, and now I suddenly have $150. But the government can.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa, like when you say it like that, and it's like literally just somebody going into a spreadsheet, I was like, oh my God. And I even this is recent. So I'm very good at making money, and I have historically been very bad at investing money. Although now I've become obsessed with investing now that I'm sort of because I was just trying to get as close to my money buried in the backyard as humanly possible. And anybody thinking to rob me, I don't actually do that. So you will find $0 here at my house. But that was my mental sophistication around finance. I didn't understand it. I didn't want to understand it, quite frankly. I'd put a lot of energy into just getting good at entrepreneurship so that I could generate whatever wealth that I wanted. But I came very late to understanding this idea that that the governments can print more, and that in printing more, you make it less scarce. And in making it less scarce, you devalue it. And I actually, as of maybe 8 months ago, thought that when they say print more money, that they were actually printing more money. And so I'm like, when they've got the bag of cash, who are they giving it to? I couldn't understand. But like, if anybody puts any amount of credibility into whether they think I'm intelligent or not, to think that a guy that could build $1 billion company as of 8 months ago was imagining somebody from the government walking around with like a bag full of cash. Like, that's how ignorant I was to the system. And that's exactly how people end up getting held back.
I think that what's fascinating about this is not an uncommon story, right? There are plenty of people on Wall Street, et cetera, who don't understand economics, macro or micro, and also just simple personal finance things, right? This stuff is hard. And it goes back to there's nobody teaching it in school. And so you basically have two ways to learn. You can learn by doing kind of trial by fire, and some people figure it out, some people don't. Or you're lucky enough to have a parent, a friend, a mentor, somebody else who sits you down and explains it to you. And I think that's why we're seeing such an explosion of interest. Yeah, sure, the meme stocks, cryptocurrencies, it's easy to mock and make fun of these young people, but these young people are interested in understanding how does the market work? How does finances work? How does investing work? And so, if you go back to that data, right, we talked about 45% of people have no investable assets. The two stats that just blew me away when I started to look at this was 80% of millionaires in the United States inherited $0. So the narrative is
interesting.
Everyone inherits wealth and it's just passed down. Well, 80% of Americans inherited nothing. 20% inherited something, 80% nothing. The second one is that 33% of millionaires in America never made more than $100,000 in a single year. So you start to ask yourself, well, how does it that somebody that doesn't make six figures a year become a millionaire? Well, they have to be disciplined and understand personal finance. And so it is possible to do it. It's not everyone. It's hard, right? It's not the easiest thing to do, but it can be done. And so as you start to understand, like, okay, the education is a huge piece of this. You actually see that the people who are wealthy, some of them could explain to you why they're doing things. They have a kind of a deep level and detailed knowledge of the actions they're taking and the reason for it. There's a whole other group of people who are wealthy who couldn't explain any of it to you, and they just know that their parents told them, hey, buy real estate. Real estate always goes up. But they don't understand printing of money. They don't understand quantitative easing, interest rate. None of that stuff matters. They just did the action. And so there's a lot of paths to get to kind of the desired, area, if you will. But I do think that Bitcoin specifically, what it's done for me and for other people is I have an economics degree. which is crazy because I didn't learn anything. Right?
Hilarious.
This episode is brought to you by Peak, where plants and science intersect. Go to Peak